What's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a great day. So, lately I've been embracing my metalhead side on this channel a lot, as well as my horror fan side. And I think those things go pretty well together, so I'm going to start making this a regular thing. And today we're actually starting a 10-part series on this channel. And what it is I'm going to be showing off albums that I think are just absolutely masterpieces of metal. And this is the road to 100 albums. And like I said, I'm going to be showing 10 albums per video. So it's going to be a 10-part series. If you went to elementary school and learned basic math, you would know that that would equal 100. But yeah, just albums that I believe are absolute masterpieces. And so if your favorite metal album or whatnot just it's not featured in this video, don't worry, there's 10 more parts. Please let me repeat that so I don't get people bitching in the comments. If your favorite metal album is not featured in this, if there's an album that you believe is truly a masterpiece and it is not featured in this video, this is in no particular order. This is a 10-part series. I can't express that enough. Please take that into consideration before leaving a comment. Now let's go ahead and get into it. And this part here is actually, from what I have here, is pretty death metal heavy. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, this first one here, a lot of people argue that this is a great album, but not their best. There are people that think this is their best album, and that is In Flames with Colony. I truly, firmly believe that this is In Flames' best work. Now, I love their first two albums. They're great. Horacle was a great album, and Clayman was a great album. Then they kind of dip off after Clayman, but they kind of turn into this alternative metal crap, and it's not really all that good. But when In Flames was death metal, they made some of the best death metal out there, and I think that this is truly their best. Yes, Horacle is great, Clayman's great, their Lunar Strain and whatnot are great, but to me, I love the atmosphere on this album. It's just absolutely dark, brooding, and I like Anders' vocals a lot more on this album than I did their first couple albums as well. The riffs on here are absolutely phenomenal, and to me, this is just a great listen from the song Embody the Invisible. I forgot the name of that first song, and it's really hard to read on the back of this thing. It's lit very weird. My favorite song on here is actually the title track, Colony. But yeah, definitely for fans of melodic death metal, if you've never listened to it, definitely, which I hope to God if you listen to melodic death metal, you've listened to early In Flames. But this is actually really, really great stuff right here, man. Like, it's just absolutely brilliant. This is a brilliant album. All right. Didn't mean to move that shit over. We got some more death metal here. Now, with this one, I was going to put one of this band's first 4 albums because they're essential to death metal and just metalheads in general, but I thought that that would have been too obvious. So I actually am presenting one that I truly, wholeheartedly believe is a masterpiece. I'm going to fix the booklet real quick because this is really starting to drive me nuts. I'm going to fix the booklet and I'm going to show you. That was driving me absolutely insane. But we've actually got Deicide with The Stench of Redemption, and I'm going to tell you why I picked this. Like I said, the first 4 albums are obvious. Those are masterpieces, and I don't think that this album is even quite as good as those, but I still think that this one's a masterpiece because this is the one that you had after Serpents of the Light. You had Incinerate Him and Torment in Hell and Scars of the Crucifix. Not great work by Deicide. And that after Scars of the Crucifix, something happened. They fell out, and the Hoffman brothers left. And I don't know if they just weren't getting along with Glenn Benton. I don't know the whole story. But they got Ralph Santola, who I idolize Ralph Santola, who played in Ice Earth, and he played in one of Sebastian Bach's bands. But, sorry, that was my Xbox in there. But they kept the true Deicide sound, but they added a lot more almost melodic death metal elements. They weren't. This was. It's not a full on melodic death metal album, but this one just it's ferocious. It's brutal. The vocals. I hear a lot of complaints on this album that Glenn Benton is known as one of the best death metal vocalists of all times because he's so clear and you can still understand what it is he's saying. This it does get muddled, but I think it really fits just the ferocity of this album. It's just from start to finish with the stench of redemption, death to Jesus, desecration. My favorite song on the album is Walk with the Devil and the Dreams You Behold. The guitar work on that song is just absolutely unreal. It's just this is a phenomenal death metal album. Just absolutely brilliant stuff from Deicide. Then they kind of go, they're kind of hit or miss after this. I enjoyed the newest one, Overtures of Blasphemy. I also enjoyed Till Death Do Us Apart, and I even enjoyed To Hell with God and some stuff on In the Minds of Evil. But this one is really, really great. You should really listen to it. This one, to me, is a masterpiece, not including their first 4 albums. Like I said, I didn't put one of their first 4 albums because I thought that would have been too obvious. Alright, this one might actually get me in trouble. Now, I'm a fan of all of these guys' work, but this is actually my personal favorite, and it's not their newest release, it's the one before, Carcass with Surgical Steel. This, to me, is just... I like this for the same reasons I like The Stench of Redemption by Deicide. This is just a really ferocious death metal album. Thrasher's Abattoir, is my favorite song on the album. It's just that's such a heavy song, the blast pieces. Carcass, like, what I like about Carcass is that they sound nasty. Like, there's just something, like, gross sounding. This is a good way. Gross sounding about their music. And that goes with the name, Carcass. Like, the name Carcass really fits this band's name. And I think this really highlights that the most. I mean, you could argue that Reek of Putrefaction and Symphonies of Sickness probably highlight that more. And those are great. I love those, and I actually need to buy those. But this, to me, really, truly is, I think, Carcass's best work. And their newest record is a good follow-up to this. But I think this one, to me, is just a masterpiece to me, man. The guitar work. This kind of has a lot of melodic death metal in there. I think you could probably call this melodic death metal at this point, but it's just nasty sounding, and I love it. I don't know what it is, man. I love Carcass. I'm glad I saw Carcass as well. All right, we got a band you probably not heard of. I've got a funeral doom metal band here, and this is Aphonic Threnody with When Death Comes. I'm always really bad about forgetting album names. Forgive me. This is some just absolutely dark funeral doom metal that really this shit right here makes you feel like you're freaking dying. Like I just listened to this today again, and I literally felt like I was dying, like I was laying in my deathbed, and then next thing you know, I'm in a coffin. That's what this feels like, and it goes with the genre of music, funeral doom metal. It just feels so like there's great death metal vocals that I think kind of sound like Amon Amarth's vocals, but it really complements the doominess of this. This album's so doom and gloom, and it really gets me depressed. Like I believe that's what they were going for, and if you succeed at doing that, you did a hell of a job. But yeah, man, this one is truly a masterpiece. Very, very, very heavy album, funeral doom album. Aphonic Threnody, When Death Comes. So check that out if you haven't. I'm not a music reviewer, so I'm not getting all technical with it. But we got a classic right here that I think every metalhead should own. Dio, Holy Diver. Just a brilliant classic. It's just so great, man. Like, yeah, the Holy Diver, the song Holy Diver, which I thought that frickin' who was it that covered Holy Diver? Killswitch Engage did a good job with this, but I believe that Dio's version is much, much, much superior. And Rainbow in the Dark, man, that is such an amazing song, man. I think my dad, when my dad was in a metal band, they covered Rainbow in the Dark, and that needs to be highlighted. This is just a masterpiece of an album, man. It's Ronnie James Dio, man, I don't think Ronnie James Dio, and people complain about the Sabbath era, the Black Sabbath era of Ronnie James Dio, and I like some of the Sabbath era, like Mob Rules and stuff. I've That's actually grown on me. I know I talk shit on Mob Rules. I shouldn't. I do like it. But Dio as a solo artist to me is much superior than he was in Sabbath. But that's just me. But this is a great album. Just everything about it is great. All right, we got a black metal classic here. We've got Immortal with Pure Holocaust. This is like one of the coldest, evilest, but yet most fun black metal albums I think I've ever heard in my life. Um, The Sun No Longer Rises, I think that's the song that I really like on this album. It might be Frozen by Ice Ones, but no, I think it's The Sun No Longer Rises. But, I'm not really the biggest fan of Immortal. I like their first, I like everything up to At the Heart of Winter. And then when they get into like Damned in Black and everything after that, even their most recent album that everybody liked, I just wasn't a big fan of. But Old Immortal, man, is some of the best black metal, just straight up black metal that I think that somebody could listen to, because this shit, man, is just so cold, and the guitar riffs, and it's just such a great cold. I like listening to this in the winter, in like December and January. This when there's snow out, when it starts snowing. I just really enjoy putting this thing on. And they got other albums I like too, but I think this one is just their best, in my opinion. But yeah, Immortal, Pure Holocaust. Alright, I might get shit on for this one. This may not be true metal, but I'm not even really the hugest fan of this band. But I really like this album because it's kind of what I like in death metal. And that's going to be Cali Captain with Humanure. Yeah, I mean, with this band, I don't like their first three. I like this album. I like Karma Bloody Karma, and I like The Harvest Floor. And then Anthropocene Extinction and Monolithic Inhumanity is just, they're just kind of overproduced for me. But this is not overproduced at all. This is nasty sounding, kind of like Carcass. It's just nasty. It's gross sounding, and I mean, this band, they're very left-wing political ideology, and like I said, I mean, I don't really care what a band's political ideology is. If they make good music, they make good music, and I mean, they got great songs on here, like Bukkake Tsunami, and that's just an off-putting but yet awesome name. You got Chummified, you've got Lips and Assholes. There's just a lot of really nasty, brutal death metal shit, like literal shit. Like it sounds like shit, but it's good at the same time. Like I feel that they're. I feel that if you were gonna torture somebody, right, with I'm not trying to be edgy or anything, but when you're trying to torture somebody and use defecation smearing as a torture method, this is probably the album. That was nasty. I don't know why I said. This is probably the album that I would imagine you would play while that was transpiring, because this album is just gross sounding, but I love it. It's so good. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really that big of a fan of theirs, but I do quite enjoy that album. All right, now there's a certain album out there that most people that are fans of this band would pick, and if you picked a different album of theirs, they'd probably haze the living shit out of you. And if you want to haze the living shit out of me, have at it. But most people would pick Monotheist, but Temega Theron, I'm sure I probably butchered that, by Celtic Frost, is probably my favorite Celtic Frost album. And it's actually my first favorite. My second favorite is actually Cold Lake, and then Monotheist. I like Cold Lake. I know people hate Cold Lake. It's a good glam metal album. But this edition here has bonus tracks on it as well. But I think this is really truly Celtic Frost's darkest album, in my personal opinion. I mean, I don't know what it is about it. I just prefer this over Monotheist. Like Monotheist has really really good atmosphere, but I think the atmosphere here is a little bit better in my personal opinion. That's one thing I've always really liked about Celtic Frost is that they're very like they have this just really dark and depressing atmosphere, and I mean I think they kind of drive it home the most with this one. But my favorite song, every song on this album, screw it. This is a great album. It's a masterpiece to me. Got two left for this one. All right, time to get the shit. Well, no, you know what? I shouldn't say this is hated because it's not hated actually. This one's actually with time grown on a lot of people. But we got some Swedish death metal here at the gates with Slaughter of the Soul. Dude, this album rips from just beginning to end. I would say that this album or this band kind of pioneered melodic death metal, but I don't think there's really truly a band out there that pioneered melodic death metal. I think even those old school death metal bands had a lot of melodies and whatnot, but I think At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul, and I mean I've liked almost everything At the Gates has put out. Some of their newer shit's a little but this one I think is definitely their most heavy. And I mean the first no, the second song, the title track, Slaughter of the Soul. I'm always a big sucker for title tracks. I don't know what that is. Like on albums, there's just a lot of title tracks that I always gravitate towards. I don't know why, but yeah, this album just riffs galore. Just absolute, just great Swedish death metal, essentially. It's not in the vein, if you've never listened to it, it's not in the vein of like Entombed or Unleashed or Dismember or anything like that, but it's more melodic, hence the term melodic death metal. But yeah, this one to me really, really, really deserves the title of a masterpiece. So that's why I'm giving it to At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul, which is, I think, really pioneered the Gothenburg melodic death metal sound, which I think is a great follow-up to the traditional Swedish death metal sound. All right, man. So we're on the final one. We are at Typo Negative with Bloody Kisses. Now, a lot of people would say their first two are better. No, I think this, to me, is their breakout album, and I think this one earns the title of a masterpiece, to me. And I say that because, there's just so many great songs, and I think this is Peter Steele's best vocal work too. This album is kind of goofy sounding. It is kind of funny. It's a little tongue in cheek, but that's what Typo Negative was really good at. And I'm a fan of everything Typo Negative has put out. I actually need to get more of their material, but I'm glad I own this one because it is absolutely great. And even that album cover. I mean, that album cover never gets old. No, not for that reason. Get your mind out of the gutter. But it's funny as shit. And so is this band. And I think the day we lost Peter Steele was a sad, sad, sad day in the metal community. And I think this is definitely Typo Negative is definitely one of the better modern metal bands, I guess is the way to put it. And I think that this one is definitely the one that really put them on the map, and I think that this is just their best album in my opinion, and every album they've put out is great, so just great stuff. But yeah, that wraps up part 1 of the Road to 100. I can't believe I fucked that up. The Road to 100 metal masterpieces. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'm out. Peace.